Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Sam Grayston. Today's Google Hangout is the last in our series of 4, which have taken place throughout October, marking the half-year point for the Co-operative Group. So today we're looking back at some of the things that the Co-operative Group in the Southwest has been involved with and trying to get a message out to other members. As with all our Hangouts, we've got some great guests with us today, but just so you know, the views expressed today by our guests are personal views, not necessarily those of the Co-operative Group, although we are, of course, going to be dealing with the specific members' meetings that have been delivered by the group. We've had some great support for our Hangouts, most recently from the Co-operative News, so thank you very much to you for sharing our last Hangout on Google Plus page, and maybe we'll have you involved with one of our Hangouts in the future, so thank you very much. There's still time to watch all of the previous Hangouts if you like to go back and see what we've talked about. Our first was around the half-year results, so you can type in s.coop/half-year results to look at that one, or you can go to s.coop/community activities to look back at our social goals, community and campaigning activities, or you can look at s.coop/best questions to look at our last Hangout from last week, where we talked about the governance review and some of the questions that we had around that. Alternatively, you can go to the Google Plus event page for this event, and we'll put all the links on there. We'd love to have your feedback on these events too, so that we can listen and learn. We've got a feedback page going. You can find the link on the Google Plus event page. Let us know what you think so that we can listen and learn. Okay, so my first guest today is Faye Bowden, who you will remember is our marvellous membership officer from Dorset. Hello, Faye. How are you doing?
Hi, Sam. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
All right, recovering from this marvellous cold that's been going around all over the shop, so feeling better, thank you. My next guest is Michael Harriott. He's board director in the transitional phase of the Co-operative Group at the moment. He's also an elected member living in Ashburton. Hello, Michael. How are you doing?
Hi, Sam. Yeah, I'm doing very well, thank you. Sorry I missed the last Hangout. I was busy, but it was a good show, I'm told.
Great, thanks very much, Mark. We've also got Melanie Hudson, who's an elected member for the Devon and Somerset area. Hello, Melanie. How are you?
Hello, Sam. Hello. I'm all right, thank you.
Good.
Glad to hear you're feeling a bit better.
Yes, thank you very much. Good. Finally, we've got Tricia Davies, who, if you watched our first Hangout, you'll remember is our chair of the regional board. Hello, Tricia. How are you doing?
Hello, Sam. And I'm really sorry to have missed last week's too, but I was on holiday.
Well, that's a nice thing to have done. So there we are. Okay, so please feel free to submit a question today if you're watching and you've got any questions to this marvellous group of people. We'll try to get through them all. You can use the Q&A feature on the Google Plus event page, or you can comment on the YouTube page. You can also follow us on Twitter at CoopMemberSW and get involved using the hashtag CoopMM for Cooperative Members Meeting. Okay, so looking back then, the first thing to think about before we look back at this year's members' meetings is to understand a bit more about what members' meetings are for, how they've been done in the past, and what the intention was this year. Faye, as part of the team who worked on designing this year's members' meeting, perhaps you could give us some of the story behind the idea.
Okay, thanks, Sam. Yeah. So what we normally do in May is each region in the UK, we've got 7 regions, will hold an annual general meeting, AGM, so we'll do one in the region. And then when it comes to October, we tend to hold them more across, so they're more accessible for people. So traditionally we've held about 5 across our region in kind of various locations where we have hotspots of members or in kind of bigger kind of city locations. The idea is, when we looked at it this year, we thought, okay, we've done that for a long time now, they work well, but there's got to be a way that we can kind of access more people, I suppose, or make ourselves more accessible. So we went back to the drawing board really with the why. What are we trying to achieve from these members' meetings? So it comes down to quite basic things really. One is to share information with our members. So our half-yearly results are available. It's an opportunity to present those to members, to answer any questions. Often we have representatives from the business there as well for people to talk to. One of the key things as well is the elected members obviously attend them, and it's a prime opportunity for them to speak to their electorate, to the membership and the peoples who elected them into the position they're in, and just get a real kind of engagement and question and answer session going. So if those were our key aims, we looked at how best we could do it, because as I say, traditionally we've just done physical meetings across the region for people to attend. So we came up with a great three-pronged attack, as we called it this year. We continued doing the traditional members' meetings. We did 3 this year, one in Poole, one in Bristol and one in Plymouth. And it's really important to keep those going, I think, because our more traditional base of members like to come along to those. It's really important to have that formal setting. That really works for some people, and to have the presentations. It's quite a particular setup. So we completed those as we normally do, but we added 2 new elements this year. Excuse me. So one was to go into store. We thought not everybody wants to give up an evening or a Saturday morning to come to a meeting, so let's take the information to where our customers and our members are out into their communities. So this year, for the first time, we went into 14 of our stores and spent a time period of 4 hours, checked in with the store and got them to recommend to us when was the best time to be there. And this was very much run by our elected members, which was great. So they had a little handout to give out which contained the same information as the presentation would at our traditional meeting, and they had a questionnaire just to go through with members and customers to find out did they have any questions for us. Obviously the last 12 to 18 months have been very particular for the cooperative group, so it was an opportunity just to say to people, what do you think? Is there anything you want to ask us? It was a great opportunity for us to promote what we do in community locally, and it was good that a lot of people seemed aware of that, which was brilliant. And then we also did these hangouts as well, which is great. So we've done a series of 4. This is the 4th one. And we thought, again, people are used to going out and finding information when they want it. They want it to be accessible for them rather than them have to get a certain time and a certain place. The world doesn't work like that anymore. So these hangouts are great. It's the first time we've done them, and people can watch them live, but obviously they go on YouTube afterwards as well, so people can come and watch them afterwards. So that's what we've done, and the strapline we've used for the whole thing is there's never been an easier way to have your voice heard. So that's our intention, is for us to make ourselves, and elected members to make themselves as accessible as possible to the membership.
That's great. Thank you, Faye. That's a brilliant aspiration. So I think what we'll do is look at a bit more of each of those prongs of attack, if you like, the members' meetings, and find out a little bit more about how they've been delivered and what kind of things they've achieved. Let's start with those in-store meetings. Melanie, you delivered one of the first in-store sessions, actually. So tell us a little bit more. I mean, Faye's given us a brief overview about how they've worked, but obviously from being there and having delivered one, tell us a bit more about what the experience was like, what customer members experienced, and how it felt for you as an elected member to go and talk to the members who voted for you.
Well, I did one in Exeter, and it was a 4-hour slot, starting from 1 o'clock, and it was going until 5. And that was a nice thing to do, and it did enable us to see lots of members and lots of customers. But we did find that people in there between 1 and 2 were mainly time was present, so they didn't really have much of a chance to stop and talk to us. But in the mid-afternoon, we did have quite a lot of conversations with people who were prepared to stop while they were shopping, and that was nice because, especially questions about the stores and about food, they were on the subject of food because they were coming to a members' meeting and making the effort to come out in the evening when perhaps shopping is not on their mind, so they're not perhaps focused on some of the things that we do and we do stand for. Some people did have interesting questions. Some people had questions about that particular store. Both of those were good, because as elected members we could answer some of the more questions about the structure, but questions about the actual store we were able to hand the people straight over to the operations manager who was doing the meeting with us. And so he was able to give them chapter and verse straight away, which is very nice. And it was very nice to be able to work with him, because very often we see him on flying visits in meetings rather than actually in store. We had quite a lot of elderly people talking to us, which was very nice, because they were able to tell us things that happened in the cooperative movement many years ago, which is, it's always nice to be able to see things in context. So that was nice. And yeah, I would be interested in doing more of these sort of in-store members meetings, because there are many stores who would be able to host it, and we'd meet many more different members. The traditional members meeting, while it's nice, it tends to be the same people that come year after year, and other people are missing out. Thank you, Sam.
Great, thank you, Melanie. I'm glad it felt like a real connection between you as an elected member and the customer members, and as I mentioned, working with the food business and all that kind of stuff that brings to life our story of being, well, I'm a customer, I shop in your shops, and I can talk to people about what I think of your business. That does feel like quite a unique thing that perhaps other retailers couldn't do. Michael, can I come to you next? Andrew talked at the last Hangout about the new governance structures, including the council and things like that. He also mentioned the idea of sub-regional structures, which could vary and really fit the needs of members in regions. Do you think the more traditional form of meeting goes anywhere to fit that bill, or do you think that we should take a more bespoke view, or what do you think of the members' meetings from this year?
I think, Sam, there's a considerable change in the cooperative over the last 18 months, especially starting way back with the problems we had in the cooperative bank and our governance arrangements. So we've made a big change, and on the 1st of October this year, we registered new rules for the cooperative, which splits the board of directors into two component parts, really. One, we still have a board of directors whose primary task will be to run our businesses in a professional and a highly effective way. And the second pillar that we have in our governance arrangements is a National Members Council that will advise the board of directors on how members' voices and the members' voice coming up from the regions, what the members want and how the board should relate to those aspirations of the members. And the National Members Council has got going now. I'm very pleased to see it's meeting. And one of its tasks is to try to work out how members in local areas can influence our cooperative businesses. And one of the things we're working very hard to do is to ensure that when members join the cooperative society, they feel they have a role to play, they feel that they are owners of the business, and they have influence in the business. And we're working very hard, and Tricia, who's on the call today, is one of our representatives on the National Members Council, is working very hard to ensure that the members' voice at the grassroots isn't lost in all these changes that we're doing. Indeed, what we want to do, Sam, is to strengthen the members' voice. We want to make sure that membership is highly meaningful, and that whenever we do anything in our businesses, membership is at the heart of that. Because I think as a cooperative, unless members have influence over the businesses, we're not really becoming a true cooperative. So we must build that in. So one of the ways we're doing that is by having our traditional meetings in the local areas. I was at a meeting in Bristol and in Plymouth this week. Well, we had about 60 to 70 members joining us, and that's great to hear members' voices, and it's great to hear their suggestions at those meetings. But as Melanie said, often it's the same people attend time and time again, and whilst it's important that when we hear members' voices, and I'll give you a few examples of what they were asking, and lots of members in Plymouth were saying they wanted to have some influence in their stores. They kept saying time and time again they felt that some items of food such as custard powder kept coming up, wasn't there in the shops, and we wanted to say, why can't we have custard powder in our shops? And I think it's not an unrealistic aspiration that if members feel they want some products to buy, and we are a retailer, we should be selling that, they have some influence in that. So I think we need to design structures where members can influence their local stores, where members can speak to the managers and the operational managers of food business and say, we'd like this changed. And not all the time, but I think sometimes our businesses have to recognise that the owners of the businesses have some influence. So it's great when you hear those views expressed in the traditional meetings. But what we're missing out, I think, is people in a very busy modern world who can't make a traditional meeting. We're missing out on their voice. And it's great, such as these Hangout meetings, where actually we can start to hear other voices. And I think we need to take that all together, and when we build a structure for listening to people and involving members in our local areas, we encapsulate all the good things that are coming out of our members' meetings and try to make sure that when we design a structure going forward, that we hear as many voices as possible so that the members' voice can be heard loud and clear at the board of directors.
Excellent, thank you, Michael. I think it's really an important point to know hear the insight from you about how these groups are going to influence and talk to one another, and obviously there's still a real commitment to make sure that members' voices are heard right down through to the customer trading member in the store. And as you said, one way is through the traditional meetings, but obviously it's best matched with some other thinking. Just while we're at this sort of midpoint, I'll just remind our viewers that if you've got a question or anything that you'd like our panel to consider this morning, you can use the Q&A feature on the Google Plus event page or comment on our YouTube page, or you can tweet us at Co-op Member SW using the hashtag CoopMM. Faye, considering this idea of new ways of doing things, and this series of Google Hangouts has been an experiment tied into the members' meetings offering this year. Can you tell us a little bit more about the idea behind hosting these Hangouts and how they've been received?
Okay, yeah, we'll do. So obviously they've been a massive trial run for us. We've had a few practices in the past, but never really done anything like this. I think it's just ridiculous not to look at online solutions now. So many people go to online. I look at it for my news, for what's going on locally. I just use it for everything. So it's an obvious channel to look at. We do have an online members meeting webpage as part of the cooperative, but the functionality is quite limited. And I think what I like about these Hangouts is they're very instant and people can watch them live. They can put questions in live if they want to, and they're just a really great way to interact. So we've done 4, and what I like about them is they're very informal as well. It's just like sitting around having a chat, really. As you can see from our backgrounds, many of us are at home. It's not a particularly corporate look or feel about them. And that's because we are real people who work for the cooperative, and we have real lives. So that's hopefully what this gets across. So we've done 4 themes in each one, which are the same as we would cover in our membership meeting. So at the first one, we looked at our half-yearly results. The second one, we covered our community work and social goals and our ethics. Last week, we looked at governance, and then today is the wrap-up, really, looking at the whole project. I think it's fair to say we've learned loads as they've been going along. I personally have really, really enjoyed them. I feel quite sad that this week is the last one. I hope we do some more. The first one was really interesting in that we broadcast at 12:30. I think at 12:32 there was still you and I were the only people in the Hangout having real connection issues, trying to get other people in, which was a bit of a panic. So, but again, it's all a big learning as you go along, which is great. It's always good to learn new skills as well. So they've just been thoroughly enjoyable. We need to learn how to use them as a tool better. They've got lots of things they can do that we haven't necessarily tried yet. You can insert video clips, for example, and things like that. And I think we need to get better at promoting them as well, and for people being able to find them. But so far we've had over 200 people have viewed them on YouTube, which is great. We've had really positive feedback as well from colleagues within the business. This is nobody else is doing this, so it's really great to use it. And yeah, it's been great. We've been able to promote them on Twitter as well. So if I just remind people, the hashtag is CoopMM, while our Twitter account is @CoopMemberSW. And there you are, there's another learn. We need to turn our phones off when we're on Hangouts. So that's it, thank you.
Great, thank you, Faye. Well, it's great to hear about all the different types of activities, and different audiences, different remits and roles to engage members with the cooperative group. Tricia, can I come to you now? So you're a member who's taken part in all three forms of the members' meetings this year. So you were on our very first Hangout. I think you were going into store actually the next day, and then you've been at two of the more traditional meetings yourselves. How do you feel they've worked? Do you feel that these meetings have met their target audience for all of their remits and roles?
I certainly would hope so. I mean, I just think it's great that we've had these three different ways to engage with members, because, as has been said, you get a very traditional base that goes to the ordinary members' meetings, and they are very important to them, and I can't stress enough how important it is that they do continue the more formal members' meetings. But likewise, bearing in mind that they tend to be centralised in places, for me, in Thatcham, they are a long way away, so that members in Thatcham are very unlikely to be able to go 70 or more miles to a meeting. So it's great to have the opportunity to have an in-store meeting. And so mine ran from about 10 till 2 in Thatcham, and members seem to really enjoy the opportunity to give a bit of feedback, to have the conversations, to say there was a lot of comments about things specific to their store, but they liked getting that off their chest. There was also a lot of interest around what has happened to our business over the last year. It was good to be able to have those conversations with people. And so likewise, the traditional meetings, what I thought was nice was people on the grassroots, members having that chance to feed into what they thought we should do with our structures going forward. That was a really great benefit, I felt. And these Hangouts, well, they're just so easy for people to just view and be a part of. So, this is making as much opportunity as we can to get to have conversations with as many members as possible. It's really good to have the three options.
Great, thank you, Tricia. Melanie, actually, can I come to you, because you've taken part in this Hangout, and obviously you've been a very keen supporter of what we've been doing. So I know you've watched them all as well. How do you think? How does it feel, the difference between watching them and taking part? Would you recommend it as a new way to engage with wider audiences, or indeed being on them?
Yes, I would. I must make one confession. I haven't watched last week's one yet. I was on holiday when it was taken.
You're in for a treat.
Oh, right. I'm looking forward to that then. And then I've been so busy catching up and going to the traditional members' meeting, I haven't got to it. But I will. I think they're very nice to view. I like watching them. I like listening to them. It's very nice to be involved and actually speaking and being live on air. Perhaps when I watch it back I might say, oh dear. I don't think so though. I've been very happy with it so far. I think the size of the panel of this number of people is absolutely fine. It's lovely to be able to see familiar faces but in a different context. It's excellent that we're able to be watched at the time or later on YouTube, so that we can be available to people when they have the time and when they're able to concentrate, rather than saying to people, this is what we're doing, and if you don't come when we are there, you've missed your chance, because they've got their chance whenever they need, and they can always, if they wish, watch it to highlight something to show their partner the exciting thing that happened on the Hangout at lunchtime. Anyway, yes, I think it's great, and I look forward to also, as Sam and Faye were saying, to exploring the further features of the thing that we haven't yet touched upon, because it's actually fairly new to all of us. Mm-hmm. The only thing I would say, it's quite difficult to get yourself signed up to the Google platform in the first instance. It took about 48 hours of trial and error to get different people on so that they could communicate. Now they're all on there. It's great.
Great, thank you, Melanie. And looking forward to the future, Michael, can I come to you and think about future ways of engaging cooperative members? Clearly that's going to need to take some sort of multi-platform approach. Will you think it need to be in-store and online too, or how else do you see that being done in the future?
I think we've got to look at different approaches to communicate with our members now, Sam. The days that where you could just have a traditional meeting are gone. People's lives are busier. We are online. We're in the post. We're in the stores, and so we've got to actually make it easier for our members to communicate with us. One of the changes we did this year in our governance review was to change the annual general meeting from a meeting of delegates to a meeting of all our members. So we have one member, one vote now. And in order to communicate and deal with 2.5, 3, 4 million members, hopefully going forward, we have to change the way we communicate with our members. So what we want to do is have more digital communication with our members, so that they can get in touch with us when they want to do that. We still need traditional meetings, of course, but I think we also have to interact with our members at the store level and in their local communities. And so we've got to look at a multi-channel way of communicating now, and ensuring that members can talk to us when they want to, and not when we want them to talk to us. And so if we are really determined, I'm determined to make sure members' voices are heard at the Board of Directors, and that means ensuring that when members want to talk to us, there's a channel that is available to them at that time. So I think we're going to have multi-channeled approaches to members in future, and hopefully this is the start of a one form. We've done Let's Talk on the website. We've had Facebook pages on the internet where we can communicate with our members that way, and I think it's about actually just continuously developing our approach to social media and online to ensure that where members, ever they want to communicate, we're there for them and can listen to them.
That's a great aspiration. Thank you, Mike. Okay, we've had a question submitted, and perhaps Trish, I'll come to you to start us off with this. One of the perhaps watching this asked us what we'd like the co-op to look like in 5 years' time. So if this is how member engagement is done in 2014, so 2019, what's it going to look like? How are we going to be talking to our members then? Tricia, I'll start with you.
Okay, well, if you said to me what do I want the co-op to look like in 5 years' time, I think the first thing I'd say is I'd want to see it financially successful. I'd want to see it trading well, and I'd want to see us feel comfortable again. That's where I'd start. But as far as our members are concerned, I'd really like to think that we've got many more members that really understand what we're about, and that the benefit of being a member, and that they want to participate. So I'd like to think that we're reaching out to far more members, and far more are getting involved in some way with the membership, and whether that's locally or whether it's online in this way, but that they are feeding into, and that they are giving their views, and they feel that their views are heard and are partaking in membership. So I'd like to think that that's how we move, and that we're successful in that in 5 years' time.
Great, thank you, Tricia. Melanie, anything you'd like to add? Any views about the future of the co-op?
I agree with Tricia. I think I'm not so much thinking that we should get more and more and more members, although if people would like to join, that would be nice. But I think that it would be good to have the same number of members, but more active, and more people inclined to participate in things like this, or come to meetings, or do things in addition to their weekly shop. I would love people to continue with their weekly shop or daily shop, fortnightly shop, whatever it is, but I would like them to think of that as a jumping off point to becoming involved in the community through the co-op and in other ways. I think one of the sad things about life today is that people have become so busy that they are not interacting with others in enough ways, and that's leading to problems of loneliness.
Thank you, man.
And this is a good anti-lonely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Michael, clearly you'll be. Okay. So, Michael, you're obviously very closely involved with what the co-op may or may not look like in 5 years' time.
Yeah.
You might share your personal aspirations or the group's aspirations for 5 years.
Well, I think I'll give you two. I'll give you group one first, Sam, because one of the things we've just done is just review our purpose. And one of our new purposes now is to champion a better way to do business for you and your communities. So I think it's about two things or three things there. One is about championing. The cooperative has always been a really progressive social organisation that champions good causes, and I think in the next 5 years' time we've got to get back to that. We were fantastic in the 1990s and the early 2000s when we pioneered fair trade and made fair trade a mainstream product in our stores. And I'm delighted now that all the retailers have caught on with that and are copying that, because I think that's great for the producers who produce fair trade products. But we've got to get back to the days when we are a great champion social cause organisation. So we need to do that, and that's nationally and locally. So we need to keep pushing that and keep developing that. And I think that's one of the areas where members' voice can help to say what do they want us to champion on their behalf. The second thing is about, I think, about how we look at existing markets that we operate on and seeing some of the things that are wrong in those markets and doing something about that. So I'll give an example that we've recently launched. Our electrical shop, online electrical shop, has been selling warranties for many years with products, and all the electrical retailers online sell warranties. But these sometimes are overpriced, and a lot of shops make a lot of money out of those warranties. And we decided that actually we think we're selling a good enough product. You shouldn't need to be making profits on warranties. So on October the 1st, we're the very first retailer to say we will sell members and customers warranties on our electrical products at cost and at cost only. So we make no profit on those warranties because we feel that actually if we're proud enough and the products are good enough to sell, we shouldn't need to make a profit on warranties. Some people like warranties because it gives them peace of mind, and that's right. So we've done that, and that's a big step for us, and it's a big disruption to that kind of existing market where people were ripped off traditionally. So we want to change that, and so I think what we want to do is look at all our businesses and say how can we change the things we do that actually makes life better for our members and customers on the ground. So that's another way we can change and champion change. And I think the third thing is we want to come back to the days when the cooperative was at the hub of the community, where people came to the cooperative because we could help them to do things. And so what we hope to do in the future, I think, is make our cooperative stores community hubs, where people can come to us for advice, where they can come for us for perhaps grants, in order to actually integrate ourselves back into the community, which I think 50 years ago we were, and I think we need to rebuild that sense of community in the cooperative. So I think that's my my aspirations for the future.
Great, thank you, Michael. I realise we're sort of pretty tight on time now, so Faye, just briefly coming to you, there are 3 words maybe, your challenge. What kind of things would you like to see for the co-op in the future?
Oh, it's always hard to come last, isn't it? And everyone answered so brilliantly. But I suppose if I choose one thing, I think we're in a really key position in terms of our size and the scope of our organisation, that just people generally understand what cooperatives are about and what cooperation is and how it is a brilliant way of doing business. It's not just a small alternative. It's great, and it's a way of doing business, and it's a way to live your life. So I think that's what I'd like to say.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, that is about time. That's it also for this series of Hangouts. Thank you very much to my guests, Melanie, Michael, Faye, Tricia. And also we've got Zoe, whose picture you can see there. She's been supporting us technically, looking onto the Twitter sphere and the questions and comments pages. Thanks also to Mick for his great advice and support through these Hangouts as well. If you've enjoyed watching these Hangouts, then please go on to the feedback sites. The link is on the Google Plus event page. You can let us know what you think so that we can listen and learn for whenever we're doing the next one. Thank you very much, my guests. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time we host a Hangouts. Goodbye.
Bye.